my business standpoint as a promoter, a marketer. Spent 25 years in high tech doing multi-million-dollar promotions for Samsung, HP, Toshiba, setting up systems for communication between resellers and bars and end users and manufacturers. You may know me as a presenter. I spent the last 10 years as a salesperson. I'm in large deals like AT&T, Johnson & Johnson, Bloomberg, selling computers to them. What a lot of people from a business standpoint don't know is I'm also an author, a channel, a writer, a blogger. That I'm a Reiki master, a professor, a practitioner of energy work. Many of you know that I'm a vegan and I promote healthy eating. And some of you listen to me all the time about how great it is to have good food and energy. We have Elaine and Michelle here doing a fantastic job with really good organic raw foods and great juices and stuff. Everybody here probably knows me for what I really am. I'm procrastinating. I spend my whole life thinking about what I want to do and dreaming what I want to do and telling people what I want to do, and I sit there and say, I'll get to it someday. Well, the time's come for me to stop hiding behind who I am as a business person. And who I am as a spiritual healer and energy worker. And merge the two in a nice little entrepreneurial adventure. So over the years I've gathered up and met wonderful, wonderful energy workers, from Reiki practitioners to Tantra to all kinds of great energy work. And I've been sharing it with family and friends, and they're kind of like, well, I don't quite understand what's going on. So what today is about is bringing it all together. What I'm doing on the business standpoint is bringing everybody together. So what I'm doing now is I'm writing a book. It's an interactive book about my procrastinating egoic channeling. So what is an egoic channel? What is a procrastinating channel? What is a channel? I see the world a lot different than a lot of people have. I've always been born, it says I've been born into this world with the abilities to see outside my body, to connect to the world of energy and see it as it exists. So basically what's happened to me my whole entire life is I've been able to disconnect from my body, and I float around and I see the world not through my eyes but through my third eye. And when you see the world like that, it's a very different place. You see it for what it really is. And it's kind of like a dream that is there, that it's not the reality that you're told it is. So I've always seen the world as a dream. And as I started writing about it, connecting to information that is knowledge I haven't had before, that just comes to me. And I started writing in a book called The Dream Painter. And what The Dream Painter is about is a young man who realizes he can change the world just by his intention, whatever he thinks he can put out there. And as I got these thoughts, I started doing it for myself. One of the first things I remember doing is wanting to have a book that I heard about. It's called Illusions by Richard Bach. And it was about this topic. I really wanted this book. And I talked to my mother about it. And she was like, yeah, that's... Because she heard, I read the Jonathan Livingston Seagull book, and she thought that's all that Jonathan Livingston Seagull stuff. And, I was 13 years old. I couldn't go to the store and buy a book, and I wanted to get this real bad, so I said, I need to have this book. I show up to school the next day, and in front of my locker, the book is sitting on the ground. And that's when I realized that whatever you want to put your mind to, you can manifest, and it will happen for you. And so I wrote this book about this boy who could change the world by putting his hand out and just creating the world that he wanted to create. He was tuned into something that was going to happen really bad to the world. And it wasn't, back then come out again. Everything was going to crumble. But this was after 2000. He was a teenager in 1999 when I wrote it. I was writing this in the 80s. And the stuff didn't happen until he was much older adult. And so it was about 15 years after 2000 that things were going to start changing, and that's what I was tuned into. But I wasn't quite sure what this cataclysmic event was going to be. And in the book, he was a writer, and he was writing about these energies and this knowledge that he had. And it turned out that he spent all his time trying to tell people through writing instead of showing them how to do this stuff. About halfway through the book, I realized I was running into trouble. I was writing it in first person, so the character warrior was I, me. And as I was writing the book, I'm realizing I'm having trouble introducing characters, so I had to go back and rewrite it in third person, and then I introduced 5 new characters who were to help him go back in time and recreate things, so he wasn't writing about it, but he was showing people how to use this energy. The characters were himself, Roy Brown, who was a dream painter who can change things physically. His girlfriend, his twin flame, she was the feminine energy. She was the controlling force to keep him on his toes and to gather all the people for him. Gina was Italian and Native American, and she was a gypsy, and she was free, and she was flowing, and she was everything that he loved. There was a priest that he ran into. This priest, Father John, really got disrupted with his religious beliefs. Everything that his religion was teaching wasn't what he was connected to spiritually. He was connected when he went outside to nature, to everything else. And the rituals and everything from his religion was forcing him to have different ideas of what he was doing. He wrote a book that was called I Am God, because his connection with God wasn't a duality, it was a singular, he was God, everybody's God, everyone's part of the same thing. And he writes this book, I Am God, and everybody goes up in arms that he's claiming to be God, when he was just talking about we are all God. Patty McKenna was a clairvoyant, intuitive, and she had all these intuitive powers and ran into issues with trying to explain it. Again, I wrote this book in the 80s when you start saying, okay, I'm a psychic, I'm a medium, I'm clairvoyant, people look at you like you're a little strange. Now these energies are starting to come into play for everybody. One of the great characters was Julia Chen. She was a young 13-year-old, beautiful singer who could, when she sang, everybody was lifted into another place. It was an emotional energy that just made her really bloom. And the final guy was Hector Rodriguez. He was a physicist, and he developed this formula that would make things disappear. And what happens is his formula now causes a disruption in the continuum where things start deteriorating like a black hole. I finished the book. And as I'm writing this book, every time I wrote the book, I'm channeling new information about energy, about the world, about everything. And whenever I channel the information, whatever I wanted would come to me. I wanted a new job, I get a new job. I met my wife, my first wife, Stephanie, back there, when I started writing this book. It was this wonderful thing that, great, here it comes. Everything I ever wanted to have, I just would go to the woods, I'd connect, I'd pull down this energy, and I'd write the book, and it happened to me. When I finished the book, it was like, okay, what do I do now? What happens is my sister Lori got married in Jamaica. This is the view from the balcony. As I'm sitting out there, I hear the words, bow to her and absorb the energy. And I'm like, okay, what does that mean? And I'm looking out there and I just feel the energy flowing and what it's like. And during our stay out there, Stephanie, me, Lori, and her husband Phil went off the compound, so to say, and decided to tour Jamaica and do a night excursion. They say don't leave your resort when you're in Jamaica. It's a very different world out there. But one of the things that happened is I ran into somebody, and we're kind of like partying all night long and kind of like disorientated. And I meet this woman, I said, "What do you do?" And she said, "I'm a Reiki master." And I said, I didn't know any, I'm an intuitive. I collect knowledge gnostically, meaning that it comes to me intuitively. I don't study on it. I want to learn from it, from absorbing it and not reading about it. Never heard the word Reiki before. And I said, "What is Reiki?" And this is after I'm sitting out looking out the window and understanding that the world, the energy is there for me to take. I just need to bow and understand it. I said, "What is Reiki?" She goes, "It's universal energy." And as soon as she said that, it was like a bolt of lightning that went through me. Like, this is exactly what I've been studying and doing all my life. And it was like I became, as soon as she said it, she came into my head. It's what I call Shaktipat, where I absorbed everything that she knew. And I'm like, this is what I have to learn. But being a procrastinator, I put it on the burner. I said, okay, someday I'll learn Reiki. And I went another year. And the time, marriage wasn't good. Things were falling apart. We took a family trip out to Mexico, to Chichen and a couple of the Mayan ruins down there. And the same thing. I walked in there and boom, the energy was like energy I never felt before. It filled me up, it vibrated every cell in my body. And I said, I have to learn this Reiki thing again. But a year goes by, and still I haven't done nothing. And now marriage is pretty much over. I'm trying to save the last bits of it, going through all kinds of stuff, don't know what I'm doing. I go to I had what's called a amazing vision quest at this mountain jam. I was absorbing certain hard things for me. And in the middle of this music festival, which is this beautiful music festival, was something called an awareness center. And I walked to the awareness center, and it's filled with all these wonderful people that are doing energy work. Something I didn't know about. There were people who were doing cranial scan stuff, and doing aura readings, and doing mediumship, and doing Reiki, and doing all kinds of stuff. And they were all in this little village. And at night in that village, it seemed like it was this beautiful place where everybody has this energy, and at night everybody's partying and carrying on, and I felt like I needed to protect it, and I got absorbed in going there and feeling the energy. And as I'm feeling the energy of the place and I'm observing all the people there, I had this revelation. It was a vision quest. It was, I don't know how to really describe it. Stephanie she came and she sees me standing there, and I'm like going nuts, just understand stuff, but I want to explain what happened. As I was sitting there, I had a vision. I was taken out of my body, and I saw the 5 people that I was writing about all my life in the Dream Painter. And we were sitting at the table, and at the center of it was Gina. She was chairing the table. It was a much older Gina than I remember from the book. She was in her 30s or 40s, and she was wild and beautiful, and she had tattoos on both her arms, and she was just controlling the room. And she basically said the Dream Painter was an actual guide to my life, that the people that I was writing about I would be meeting, and that the energy I was writing about I would be doing, and that I shouldn't be writing about it like I wrote in the Dream Painter. I should be actually going out there and teaching it and showing people how to do it. And most importantly is that this this time period was about. It wasn't about the end of the world. It was about a new way of understanding of energy that was coming out right now. That people were not going to just be living in their three-dimensional bodies anymore, but they were going to be using the energy that's around them and intuitively know and see throughout the world what's going on. And that there were going to be centers that were set up that were going to be the churches of the future. Places like Earthgate right here, where people can come out and show their energy. And people who don't understand energy can come and learn from other people. As when we have Yogadi show up, he's down in North Carolina. He's working with, which we'll get into in a little bit, the Art of Living, which is 30, 40, 50 million strong organization of connecting to breathing techniques and everything that helps you connect to understanding stuff. It's got a beautiful 600,000 square foot facility down there, and he's got an absolutely awesome bed and breakfast that I'd love you guys to see sometime. We're down in North Carolina. It's a little far from your place, but it's a great area to come and check out. The other thing that I received at the time, I was eating red meat 6 times a day. These people say, how do you eat red meat 6 times a day? You know, bacon and sausage for breakfast, ham sandwich, big old sandwich for lunch, you had your steak for dinner, you eat chewing on meat snacks in between. I was smoking again because things were changing in my life. And I just bought a carton of cigarettes because I'm at a weekend festival. And during this whole time, I felt things that were being told to me my whole life. During my marriage to Stephanie, she kept telling me, you need to go vegetarian, you need to have organic foods, you need to be eating right. And I'm like, Dad, I'm not paying $5 for milk. I can get that cheap milk and I can buy that processed food and I can give the kids, those Lunchables or whatever. And I didn't listen to words she said. And while I'm here is when I was connecting, and I had a psychic connection to her, I had a psychic connection to everything, and all of a sudden I felt I need to eat real food. It's got to be grown from the ground. I can't eat meat anymore. I can't be putting poisons in my body anymore. That my body is a conduit. The energy I'm talking about that I'm going to be taking from the earth, that I'm receiving, is coming through me. And when I clog it up with stuff, it's clogging me up. And that day, I said, I quit smoking and I quit eating meat. And it was a challenge for me. Which one am I going to go further? But it wasn't a challenge because I never wanted to smoke again and I never wanted to eat meat again. And the final thing, like I said, I needed to stop writing and stop hiding stuff and stop being aloof and not sharing who I am as a person. The reason the marriage didn't work out is because she shared everything with me and I never ever shared anything back with you. So, how do I start? I start with the Reiki. That's what I need to know. Reiki, what is Reiki? And I'm discovering a lot of people understand that Reiki is the energy that everybody starts as a basis of understanding, because it's the basis energy. It's the life energy that flows throughout you. I go online and I look up somebody that can help me with all the stuff I'm going through, and I find this ad right here. I said, okay, let me check out this Dawn Stella person. And here's Dawn over here. And I said, Dawn, what is Reiki about? I do a consultation. She lays me on the table. She shows me Reiki. And woof, I'm like, yes, that's the energy I know. That's what I'm looking for. This is what I need to know. And what I didn't realize was Reiki was more than just the feeling of energy and everything else. There's a clairvoyance behind it. That you can read the energy as you're doing it, which I have always done with people. But it's, when you have these skills of being a channel, of understanding energy, of seeing visions that you don't know what they are, they're just part of your life. And you don't know that, okay, I'm seeing visions as opposed to I'm daydreaming, or that I'm channeling because as opposed to thinking. But you know it's not stuff that comes from you, it comes from without. And it comes from within, and it comes from all over. Dawn does this beautiful Reiki on me, and I think it's all about my marriage and all the heartache I'm having. And it turns out it had to do with my father, which out of the blue, she's down my root chakra. The other thing that I mean to say is that my whole life, I told you, I'm always floating. I'm going around, I'm outside my body, I'm floating, and I'm looking around, la da 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 da, and oh, there's my body over there. I'm not really connected to it. So with that, I was never really connected to physical energy. And when she started showing me about Reiki, she started showing me about grounding to physical energy. I'm like, I don't need to ground, I'm a floater. And it's something that my ego was stopping me from understanding a very important part of energy. Same time, I meet this other woman. Her name is Marian Davinsky. She's what you call a dowser. She takes a little pendulum and she can see numbers and ideas and just flow with stuff. And she said, you're going to meet somebody new. She's looking for you now. A week later, I go to Dawn's. Dawn has a meetup and she does a meditation. She does this meetup called a burning ceremony. And she says, write everything that you want in life, everything you don't want in life. Or write down everything you don't want in life. Everything you want to get rid of. So I wrote down everything I wanted to get rid of. It had to do with a lot of bad habits I had. It had to do with my house falling apart and some other stuff. And so I wrote it down, throw it in the fire, poof, it's all gone. Everything started coming good. She said, now write down everything you want. And I said, okay, I need to find that Gina. That's who I said I'm looking for. I wrote down everything I was looking for in Gina. Somebody who was vibrant, smiling, happy, everything I needed. And a week later, I'm on a Yahoo personal site and I see this picture. And let me tell you, if anybody ever did internet dating, it's the weirdest thing. I was on Yahoo Personals, and I'm not somebody who ever went to bars and said, okay, I'm going to pick somebody up. So I figured I'd do this and I could find somebody. And I said I wanted something very specific, somebody who was spiritually connected to me, somebody who was connected with the new energies I've been looking at, and somebody who just had, could keep up with my way. And I'm finding all these same people, people that I don't really connect with. Oh yeah, it's about me and my hair and all this stuff, and I'm like, no. And then I found a couple of people that I thought I might connect, and it turns out when I wrote to one, she starts, having a conversation back and forth, and then she goes, I'm going to be leaving town, I'm going to Africa, I'll be gone a couple of weeks, but when I come back, I want to talk to you about something. I said, okay, whatever. And then I go on to the next one, and I'm talking to her about this and that and the other thing, chatting online. And then she goes, I'm going to be going to Africa on some thing, and when I get back, I'll talk to you. I'm like, oh my God, these are all scams. I can't do something. There's something wrong here, and it's going to be one of those African scams that come out. So I see Julie put her profile, looked at my profile, and I sent back to her, I noticed you looked at my profile. It looks like we have a lot of things in common. Call me if you want.
If you're interested.
If you're interested. Because I wasn't going to lay my heart out to somebody I don't know that could be a scammer again. Well, we chatted, and it turns out that...
Oh, I didn't tell you about the African trip?
Turns out everything I was looking for, everything that I had envisioned in my books and dreams came true. So we were together for about a week, and I'm talking to her about how to manifest stuff up. I'm an expert manifestor now. I've been doing it the whole time in my dream picture. You can ask Hope. We used to play, Hope, my daughter back there, if I haven't introduced to her. We played games since the time she was a kid. It was called the Manifest game. And I'd say, find this thing for me. So, for example, with Hope and Ryan, my son, we're driving down the road once, and those big fan boats you see in the Florida Everglades? I see one of these driving down the road. And I'm like, okay, this is a good one. They're never, ever, ever going to find one of these things. I said, okay, kids, your challenge right now is to manifest up one of these fan boats. It was a week and a half later, and my son Ryan goes, Dad, you gotta go to ShopRite. I'm like, what? He goes, you gotta go to ShopRite. He skateboards and was in ShopRite. So I said, I can leave the house and go to hot ShopRite. Parked in ShopRite is a fan boat. Connect to it. It wasn't even the same one we saw. So somehow in West Milford, New Jersey, there were 2 fan boats that, why would there be? Anyway, I met Julie and talking about manifestations of stuff, and she was going through a hard divorce also, and she didn't have a lot of money, and she had a camp she was signing the girls up for, and her ex was supposed to pay for the camp, and he didn't pay for the camp, and she was all upset about this, and her energy completely changed. I said, don't worry about him. You're going to manifest up the money, and it's going to come to you this week. And she says, no, it's not. Wow, how do you do it? I said, don't.
Don't say it quite like that.
Okay. She didn't say it quite like that. I said, okay, don't worry about it. You're going to get $300 this week. And she says, okay, fine. She goes to play bingo with her mother 2 days later. Completely forgets about the $300 thing. And she calls me up. She goes, yeah, guess what? I'm like, what? She goes, I won $327. I said, that's 27 more than you wanted. She goes, what? I said, you needed $300. She goes, oh. And I said, that's how manifestation works. It's not going to be, oh, we need $300 and then somebody comes and gives you a check, but it's going to show up in the weirdest places that you don't know. So that later that week, or a week later, we said, okay, let's go to sleep and let's have a dream and let's share a dream together. And we both had this beautiful dream that we're in a tent by the water. And to me, it was like I'm in the jungle, and I hear this drum beat in the jungle going on. And did you have drums in your dream?
There were drums, yeah.
Yeah. So
It
she had
wasn't
drums.
a jungle, but there were drums and water and tent.
So there's water, tent, drums, and
What was that for?
we don't think much about it. We said, we're going to manifest this up. And we're not going to know how it's going to happen, but it's going to be manifested up. And I'm like, okay, I'm ready to do my Reiki stuff now. So then I'm going to Dawn's, and I'm getting my Reiki 1 certificate. But Julie says, hey, you got to come to this festival on that. It's called Evolve Fest. When I wrote the Dream Painter, the big portion of the Dream Painter was we were doing these huge festivals. They were millions strong. In the festival were all these energy workers talking the five senses I talked about. So there was the emotional sense, which was the singer. There was the intuitive sense. There was the spiritual sense. There was the physical sense of physicality that we don't really know about. It's quantum mechanics and all that stuff. And she says, there's this festival, and it's kind of like all this stuff, yoga festival. I'm like, oh, I gotta go check that out. And it was the festival I dreamt of. It wasn't 20 million strong, but it was this festival that I'm like, I gotta be at this place. So I'm like, well, I'm doing Reiki during the day, and now I'm coming to the festival at night, then I gotta get up and go to Reiki again. She goes, well, why don't we just get a tent and we'll camp out here? It wasn't planned or anything. So I'm at the festival, we run out to the Sears Hardware, whatever is by there, we buy a tent, and we're looking for a place to pitch it. And we're down at the festival area, and there wasn't much area, so we walk up a hill to where a bunch of other people were camped out. I said, oh, it looks like a spot over there. We set the tent down. I'm like, oh my God, we're on water. This is beautiful. We're sleeping in that tent at night, and all of a sudden, a drum circle breaks out right next to us. And I'm like, this is the exact dream that we both shared 2 weeks ago. We're in a tent with drums by the water.
Sure.
One of the things Royer in the book had was he was always, people, because he can change the world, they always thought of him as a god, like a Jesus, and he had long hair and a beard, and he looked just like Jesus. It's kind of the stuff we were talking about. And when I go to this festival, who's running the festival, but this guy named David Bryson, who looks just like Jesus. He's running the festival just like that. I'm like, oh my God. So it's not just me who's Royer, it's David Bryson, it's everybody else. It's everybody who's tuned into the same channel of consciousness, that has the same message, that has the same reason that they're here to do. And these festivals are absolutely beautiful festivals. If you haven't been to the Bob Fest, I strongly encourage that you go to one. So the next thing, so Royer and Gina in the book moved to a place called Estes Park, Colorado. When I wrote about it, and it was stuff that channeled me. You got to write, it's Estes Park, Colorado. It's up by the Rocky Mountains. Just write about it. And I'm thinking, I don't know what Estes Park, Colorado is, but I'll put it down there because it's important. About a year after that first Evolve Fest, I'm talking to Julie about intentional communities where energy workers and people who are tuned into all this stuff would come and live like in an eco-village and do sustainability and do all this stuff and have a wellness center for anybody who wants to learn stuff to come by and go there. And Julie comes across this place called Santosha, and it's in Estes Park, Colorado, and it's everything I was dreaming about. It's everything that I had in that vision from that awareness center. This was Yogi's vision that he was putting together. And so I said, I'm reading about this. I call Yogi up on the phone and I said, I got to come check your place out because it's a vision I had. He goes, or I got to talk to you about it. He goes, well, I'm going to be in your area on the East Coast. He lived in Colorado. In July for an Art of Living festival, a big festival where Sri Sri Ravi Shankar is a guru who, like I said, has a huge following, 100 million strong, is going to come out and share his technique. It's something called Sadasha Kriya. It's a breathing technique that helps you connect to the energy. And I'm like, that is so weird. One of my business partners, I'm working for Toshiba and I'm selling computers to this guy named Manoj, who's got a company called Computer Components. And every time I'm there, he's telling me, you got to advertise on this Art of Living Foundation that I'm part of. I'm like, okay, I'll check it out, but I never did. And when I talked to Yogi, he's like, yeah, I'm going to be out here. I'm like, Manoj, I got to get to this thing. So part of it was taking the lesson one of the Art of Living, which is this breathing technique. As I go through the breathing technique and learning this thing, I have another revelation. And I'm now connected to an area that I've never been connected to before. The super high connection to God consciousness. And what I got from it was I need to learn two things. White Tantra, but more importantly, White Tantra, it's Connection Tantra. And I need to learn Kundalini practice. And at the first of all fest, I heard Kundalini Yoga and said, oh, that sounds something like I should be learning. But it kind of put on the back burner because I'm a procrastinator. I never learned about it. Missed the workshop and didn't even see it. And just figured it was just some other type of yoga type of session. But in my head, it's Tantra, breathing, Kundalini. I look up a Tantra course, and I find Goddess Pamela back here. And when I saw her picture, it was, oh my God, this is the vision of what I had at the chair of the meeting. And your background, nationality?
Cherokee and Italian.
American. I didn't know that when I met her. But this is part of the energy that you connect with people, that you manifest them up, that you have a contract that's outside of this physical life. We never met, but we met outside of here in a vision. And so I did the Kriya. I learned, before I went to Pamela, I learned Mahamudra Tantra from a Buddhist camp up in New York. And then I wanted to learn more of it. And when I went to Pamela's first workshop, it was just amazing, the energy that flows through there, the techniques that she does to show you the flow of everything. And so, again, I'm just bringing you all to the things that were important to me, the energy that I learned, and then bringing the people that taught me these energies so you can learn from. Julia, the singer, who had this voice that was amazing. There's an artist that I met at the next Evolfest 4. I didn't meet her, but the music was playing. And the second that music played, there was a connection to that. Her name's Sanat Kaur. And when you hear her sing, you're transported. She sings with like God coming through her voice. It's just, the beauty is there. And I found such a peace with that music. And she's part of a movement, Sikhism, that just has the whole Kundalini flow that comes in and the connection to oneness with the universe. And part of what I got from that whole experience was I had another channel about 1111. Now 11 has always been my lucky number. From the time I was like 5 years old, I'd go to, the fairs with everything, and you put a number, you put a quarter down in a number, I would always pick 11. And 9 out of 10 times, when I put my quarter on 11, I would win. And I won a big stuffed animal or whatever, and it was just my favorite number. And what I was getting was this whole 1111 movement, so that one was part of that. It was always ingrained in my head. It's something that Marian Davinsky was telling me about. She was a numerologist too. And it became our wedding date. So we happened to live in a time that was 11, 11, 11, and we got on a plane, flew to Mexico, we eloped, and what I learned about that experience is that's a special period of time. If you did something special on that date, whatever happens in this world, you can go back to that time. It's some type of portal. And what I got from it was I channeled this technique that's, again, never studied Kundalini, never studied, part of stuff, of drawing up this energy and learning how to connect with the earth, draw down the energy of the universe and create the world from your heart. And Father John. So, Father John wrote this book, I Am God. Last July, I'm a channel, I'm an author, I'm on Meetup. I see this other channel author who's doing a workshop not too far from the house. It's a place called Earthgate up in Dingman's Ferry, Pennsylvania. Julie was planning a 4th of July get together with a bunch of friends. I said, no, I really got to go to this thing. She goes, okay, go to your thing. I come up here, and this is where I met Ernie, I met everybody, and I meet Paul Selleck. Paul Selleck wrote a book called I Am the Word. And his whole book is about reaching God consciousness, that we're all part of it, and connecting to there. And I'm like, oh my God, everything that I was trying to do and write, I was writing a new book called Univinity, I Am God. And I'm like, he's already written a book that Father John wrote. And it was amazing hearing him speak. And when I came here, I saw this place as this wonderful place that you can do energy with too. So one of Paul's agent, Alan Steinfeld, he also works with Arnie. He was here, and I was saying to Alan, you have to get Paul to go to Evolfest because I've seen this vision years ago. And he's like, yeah, no, Paul knows Dave. So I said, okay, that's fine. I go to Evolfest that summer. So this was July. I go to Evolfest in September, and Paul is like the main attraction. He's doing all the main speeches. He's doing the whole thing. I'm like, oh my God, I'm not the one who needs to coordinate putting all these people together. That's my ego. That's why I'm saying I'm an ego channel. I'm just connected, I see visions of what happens. And I saw these two connected years ago when he wrote the book and Dave had the festival. So I'm like, okay, what a coincidence, da-da-da. Last New Year's Eve, Dave has a meetup he's doing. It's a weekend retreat. He has Paul there. I said, we'll go. He plays this movie. The movie is called Three Magic Words. Everybody know what the three magic words are? The three magic words are I am God. So he played that movie before I go there, I said the whole story about I am God, the Father John, all this stuff. It turns out that was the movie for the weekend. It's just one of those connections that makes things how it is. At that Evolve Fest, I'm also connected with another spiritual center. It's up in Blairstown called Shaolin Zen. It's this guy, Dominic, and his wife, Nikki, are putting it together. Dominic went through a very bad motorcycle accident where he thought he was going to die. And with that, he found peace with what he was supposed to do, and he's putting out a spiritual center. A nice, beautiful old church that's converted into this beautiful place that people can come and do energy work. And he had a Swami there called Swami Kripananda who was doing a technique. And that technique is what's called Shaktipat, where you can actually transfer stuff. And I didn't even mention that with the Sri Sri Ravi Shankar, I did the same thing. I had a conversation with this guru that wasn't verbal. He was talking to a crowd of 50 people, but at the same time, he was having a conversation with me in our head. And I'm like, I can be a guru. Everything you're talking about, I kind of know. This is the egoic portion. Everything that you're saying, I've already written about in the book. I connected to the same information you're connected to. And then he turns to me and verbally says, you all think you can be a guru, but there's much you must learn before you become one. And then I realized we did have that psychic connection when we were talking. I meet the Swami guy, I'm like, I know how to do this. This is how this is an energy I have where I can transfer everything I am to somebody else, and I can take and transfer. You can talk to Marcia, we do this all the time. I downloaded her technology, she downloads mine. It's a wonderful thing. And so I meet the Swami guy, and he does the same thing, and all of a sudden what he does is, I'm like, oh my God, this is what I do. It's the Shaktipat thing, it's the transferring of energy stuff. And I started talking to Don about it later, and he says, yeah, you know what, I just met this woman, Lori, at Evolve Fest, and she does Akashic readings, they're soul readings, and I'm like, that's what I'm doing, and it's the whole thing that's around. So Lori's going to be here a little later this afternoon, hopefully she can make it up, and she'll talk more about Akashic readings. But this is, the trend of how we all meet. I met Nicole at one of Lori's meetups, and then Marcia. The same thing. All the technologies I've been learning from Marian Davinsky, which was the dowsing, to energetics, which was something that I was totally in tune to when I was learning the whole Reiki stuff, to the Shaktipat and opening doors and trying to figure all this stuff out. I connected with Marcia, who does this wonderful thing called multidimensional channeling, or transformation. She does something with, this is how I took your technology and made it mine.
It's not mine.
Multidimensional transformation, where she's a nutritionist, and she can actually, it's kind of like the dowsing technique that I've seen Marian does, but she doesn't use a pendulum. She just opens up doors and can go through it and find stuff. And this was an issue I was having with my channeling, that when I connect, information floods. I got to hold it back, and then I can only pick up, you get 200 million pieces of information coming at you. You can pick up maybe 20 of them. And so you pick them up, but it's always random, and it's always usually the same information, and you can't go in. And when I downloaded her technology, meaning that she showed me what her abilities are that are now my abilities, I can now, when that information comes in, it's like, okay, I don't need that, let me look over here. Okay, what's in this door? Where do I go from there? How can I come over here? And it's helped me clarify my mind that's kept me procrastinating my whole life, because I'm like, too much information to overload, and help me pinpoint things a little better. So, with all that said, what I'm doing is I'm writing a book about this experience, how we met all these wonderful people. Following the stories of how I had visions of them 20, 30 years ago, how I met them now, what they're doing, what their energy is all about. I'm putting it together in an exchange where everybody can view what they do, and everybody who's here today, we're going to have an afternoon session where you can actually, you're going to hear them all speak today. You're going to see them, how they can experience what they're doing in an open energy show that we're going to have this afternoon. You stick around for it. You're going to learn techniques that I incorporated from them, and then you're going to, I'm going to be writing about this online, and it's an interactive book. It's going to have videos, it's going to have tutorials, it's going to have blogs, it's going to be all things. So every week I'm going to be writing stuff. It's going to be a subscription service, and it's going to be available for everybody to view online. And what I'm going to do is sell a prescription to it. It's going to be $15 a month. Everybody who wants to join today, it's $25 for the year. You get to read the book and you get to view their stuff as it comes out online. And that's about it. So what today is all about is coming, meeting people, and learning. A question?
No, just addition to the last piece, the scientist
Oh.
made things disappear.
I'm sorry, yes.
But that's very interesting because at the conference, we were talking about Nassim Haramein, his technology, things bleep out of existence.
Yes,
once in a
no,
while.
exactly. So that's why it's up there. Thanks, I completely forgot about that. Part of the video is showing you is what's happening at this time is there's emergence between three things. What we know as science and physical world, what we know as religion or spirituality, and what we know as our consciousness. So what we tend to believe is that what we think is what our consciousness is, what we feel is what physicality is, and when we go to church, that's spirituality. Spirituality is a connection that's a personal connection that's within you. To find God, to find source, to find whatever you believe in. It's from looking within. And a church is a way of celebrating that, but a lot of people misinterpret the traditional ceremonies with the actual spirituality. The science portion is an amazing thing that's happening this year. This is what 2012 is all about and moving forward, is that there's an understanding of science now that it's going to change how we view reality. We're going to understand it is just a dream, and we can change it just like you change a lucid dream, and you can start doing this. One of the scientists that is really working on this is Nassim Haramein, and Marcia's been working with him very closely. You guys ever seen